Thank you, Sarah. Hi, colleagues. Well, it's great to be here. It's great to see that we are more and more connecting the dots between not only learning, but also the global policy agenda. And I really liked some of the new tools you've tried today. I love really the bicycle. Well, when I looked at the agenda of the module and its content, I really liked the fact that you've put more than the SDG agenda for linking with decentralized cooperation today, because when you look at the slide and when you see these six agendas that we're all working on one way or another, there are very strong links and opportunities, I would say, with decentralized cooperation. A bit like Boris, I will start a little bit before than 2011, which is when the Busan Partnership was agreed worldwide, but start with the development cooperation agenda. Actually, if you look at this development cooperation agenda, which was before called the Aid Effectiveness Agenda. You can see a shift actually before a little bit 2010, 2011, which started with a big critique on this agenda of aid, which actually placed too much emphasis on the mechanisms of aid rather than the impact on development generated by aid. And that may seem quite little, but it's actually a big shift. One of the weaknesses that we had identified in this very agenda before 2010 is actually the absence of the key development stakeholders. It was way too much driven by the global north, and civil society was absent, local governments were absent, and the voice of the global south was lacking. So in 2011, the Busan Principles were agreed, and I think they are very strong 4 principles that still drive this agenda today. The first one is that it is an agenda that needs to be owned by developing countries. We cannot have the global north driving the agenda of the south any longer. Second, it's an agenda that has to be focused on results and on impact. And I think that's also where there's lots still of progress to be done. And third, it's an agenda that should be based on partnerships. So this is where we, as local governments, at decentralized cooperation, come in. And then fourth, which also very strong, transparency and shared responsibility. This is a very important agenda actually still now. First, because it's still very much alive. There is still what we call the Global Partnership for Effective and Development Cooperation, which is still the platform to actually work on those 4 principles through partnerships, and it's an interesting agenda in the sense that where the SDGs are the development effectiveness agenda is trying to define the how. So through those different platforms and partnerships. Obviously, for us, it's very much linked to decentralized cooperation. This is where we have the most direct opportunities to actually tell the story, tell what are the comparative advantages of decentralized cooperation to actually reach more sustainable development. So we can come back to this one afterwards. Second, well, I mean, now we are looking at 3 agendas that were agreed in 2015, so a very important year. And I will start with the financing one, so the Addis Ababa Action Agenda. It's a very important one, even though it's not always recalled, but it actually provided a new framework to finance sustainable development. And for our constituency, for local governments, we had a very important paragraph, the paragraph 34 in this agenda, which was quite a breakthrough. And it stated that this agenda needs to make sure that subnational governments have sufficient financial autonomy to actually prepare sound financial strategies that are aligned with the other global agendas. So it's very important, not only that first part, but also the link with the other agendas, to actually enhance the capacity of local and regional governments to build partnerships either with development banks, regional or national. Second was to activate climate finance, and third, to actually work on stronger urban municipal finance in developing and in LDCs. So this is a paragraph that we always recall when we go for advocacy. But as I said, we really want to look at those two parts, the financial autonomy for local governments, but also financing the other agendas. This is also very much linked with climate finance and with localizing climate finance. So obviously in that very year, the Paris Climate Accord, or the Paris Climate Agreement, was a major achievement. It actually opened a totally new era for global climate action. I think all of you in this module were there or know most of it. But still, three very interesting components there. First, it's universal. So it's a universal commitment, not only from national governments, but on multi-level and multi-stakeholder action. And that we'll come back to that later. But that is a critical also breakthrough compared to the other protocols before. Second, obviously, the limitation to 1.5 degrees, and third, very important as well, the NDCs. So the national determined contributions. National governments have to report at least every 5 years on how they can achieve the limitation to 1.5 degrees. And this is why COP26, that was supposed to be held last November, so 5 years after, is so important this year. Obviously, for us and for the networks, it was a major achievement. It is a major achievement in the sense that we are not only recognized in the preamble, but also in paragraph 15. And this is very important when it says that climate action is not voluntary anymore. It is a core duty of all levels of governments. So it's putting national governments and stakeholders to step up and ensure benefits for transformation for all. So very critical on this, and also in road to COP26. I want to perhaps spend a bit of more time on the Sendai and then on SDGs, which are more well known, but perhaps on the Sendai, which are also two important ones impacting decentralized cooperation. Well, in Sendai, they had to renew the Yogo protocol that came to an end in 2015, and actually also in this one, a very important achievement for local authorities, and it's perhaps the longest statement calling to us and for us in a major international agenda, as it called to empower us, local authorities, as appropriate regulatory financial means to work and coordinate with other relevant stakeholders in disaster risk management at local level. Actually Sendai tried to really solve some gaps that we had identified in the Yogo protocol. We had really spotted evident gaps in capacity, in knowledge, in financing, in support to decentralized cooperation in this one. And target E of the Sendai Framework has been a very important achievement, because it's actually pushing national governments to support us and to set up those multi-level mechanisms to ensure that we have coordination and action in actually making the Sendai Framework a reality on the ground, on the local ground. So it's going even more into some of the details that are very present in the other resilience module that we've been developing, but it's providing that framework for local governments to implement the strategies, to align with the national and international strategies, and to push for that enabling both policy and governance environments with the national level. So four key priorities in this one is very much detailed in the other module, but it's providing this priority on understanding risk, and then how can you strengthen governance around risk, and then 3, how can you invest in resilience, and then 4, how can you enhance preparedness. So I wouldn't be longer on this one, as we have also, there is another module available, but very, very critical as well. And then the 2 last ones, but I will be not so long on the SDGs, as we know that beyond SDG 11, we have also made very, very good progress on the localization of all other goals. But perhaps one of the goals, and Sarah had the background of SDG 17, that is perhaps not so much having not so much attention, but it's actually quite strong for us and for decentralized cooperation, because this is where the notion of peer learning appears. This is where the notion of multi-stakeholder partnerships to mobilize financial resources to achieve the agenda appears. This is where the goal encourages effective public-private partnerships and civil society partnerships. So I think we also have these opportunities there to put decentralized cooperation into the objectives and targets. Of course, we have a full range of chapters and modules on this, but perhaps one of the most important is that inspiration and that alignment, that possible alignment of the local level to the goals and objectives that has provided also a great wealth of knowledge and opportunities for decentralized cooperation and local governments around the world. And I'll finish with the new urban agenda, which perhaps for me, as from personal point of view, perhaps is the most powerful one, but is also not the easiest one, as it is more of a political and policy agenda. But I think if I can sum this up, for me it is the new urban agenda is a connector, it's an accelerator, and it's a catalyzer of all what we've just discussed before of the 5 other agendas. But if you nail it down to all what it contains, the right to the city, the push for decentralization, the urban-rural continuum, participatory approaches, we have here also very important mechanisms to accelerate localization. So I think my time is almost over, but this is for you to have that kind of a helicopter view on what the links are between those agendas and decentralized cooperation. I think it's very interesting to see all these opportunities and also all this great progress that we've made in less than 6 years for the constituency and for decentralized cooperation at global level. I think that's quite promising. I think perhaps one of the things that the international agenda can make progress on, and we as well, is perhaps to deepen those links between those agendas. This is what we're going to try to do with the new urban agenda in the coming year. But I think I hope that was useful for all of you. That was not too much information, and I'll remain here for the remaining parts of the conversation. Thank you again, dear colleagues.